you, everybody, and thank you to Creative Mornings and DuPont Underground and everybody who's made today possible. Well, about this time last year, I started wondering what my next steps were going to be. Personally, life was going really well. I have an incredible, wonderful, supportive partner. We just bought a house in Brookland in Ward 5, yeah. But like any good young DC professional, I was thinking, well, what are my next steps? And if I can be honest and tell you a secret, I had no idea what I was doing. Of course, I know all the steps you need to take to find a job, the networking, the applying, the informational interviews, all that good stuff. But I didn't really know what I was looking for or where I was headed. I think there's a lot of pressure, especially in this town, to find the most lucrative job, the most high-profile job. And I knew I wanted to keep moving forward, but I have to be honest, I find it really hard to play that game. Oh, thank you. Because I tend to gravitate towards projects that just get me jazzed emotionally and that I get excited about. That's where I'm going to throw my energy into. So kind of playing that game to find the ideal job, it just was very challenging for me. So I had to take a moment and do some soul searching and think about what are those emotional things that drive me and what gets me excited. Oh, hey. Hey there. So the first thing I thought of was the Awesome Foundation. Anybody know about the Awesome Foundation? Yeah. If you haven't heard of the Awesome Foundation, they basically made the concept of wonder an organizational model. I've been a part of this group, the DC chapter, for about a year and a half, and I've been one of the co-deans for roughly the last year. We're a global community. We're all self-funded, and we get together and we basically advance the idea of awesome, one micro grant at a time. We have 90 chapters around the world, fully autonomous, and they support cool ideas, cool projects, just neat, weird, quirky, fun, impactful things that happen through self-funded $1,000 micro grants. This means that each chapter operates a little bit differently, but our core is to use our funds to support things that get us excited in the community. The DC chapter is my personal favorite. It's the one I'm a part of. And we have developed our own 4 criteria. So the first one is, why is it awesome? Which is totally open-ended. You tell us why you think it's awesome, why you think it's cool. Will $1,000 make a difference? Will it happen in the near future? And is it DC focused? That's kind of what we're looking for. That's what gets us going. We're in our 9th chapter. I know that there are some former and current trustees in the audience, so a shout out to them, because together we've given away roughly $90,000 in micro grants to cool projects. What I like most about it is that every month is different. We all get together, we bring snacks, we bring drinks, and we talk about some of our favorite applications, and they're never the same, and it's always something unique and fun. Some of my favorite, we are the founding funders for the DC Funk Parade. So, yeah. Yeah. We're very proud of that. We're looking for ideas that we like to say are the acorn to oak. So what is this thing that somebody has an idea for something, we like it, we think it can grow into something big, and I think DC Funk Parade is a really good example of that. Another one of my favorites, they just had a show last weekend, is Eat Your Heart Out, a fat burlesque review. Yeah, these are fat queer performers of color who were very frustrated by the fact that they would go to performances and they just didn't see people who looked like them, who represented them. Their performances are above all sexy, they are inclusive, and they support intersectionality. Another one of my favorite projects that we funded is the DC Puzzle Swap. So if you are, yeah. If you are into puzzles, especially large puzzles, you would take the time, you would assemble them, and then what do you do with them, right? You disassemble them and put them back in a box. So this is a group that they're like, oh, well, we're going to exchange puzzles so that we can kind of keep that momentum going and build a cool community. And I have to say, Joel mentioned in his introduction the documentary 33. That is also a project that has received funding from the Awesome Foundation. So whether or not you've heard about us, you may have experienced some of the things that go on. And I think it's just a fantastic reminder that awesome and cool and wonderful and weird things happen in DC every single day, every minute, every hour. And earlier this spring, I had an opportunity to go to the Awe Summit. So when I talk about this structure and I talk about the money that even our chapter has given away, you might think like, wow, this is cool. Where's their headquarters? What's going on? No, when I say there's little to no structure, I mean it. We're not a 501c3. There's no headquarters. There's no official board other than a group of people who got together and thought, okay, well, we'll call ourselves a board and we'll support all of the chapters, and we totally dig it and we support them. Yet somehow we still have a website. You can visit awesomedc.org to learn about your local chapter. We even have leadership conferences, like I mentioned, the Awesome-It, where we all sort of bombarded on the Chicago chapter and hung out in their personal business office for the weekend and talked about how to advance awesome in our own chapters. So yet somehow we all come together. It's further evidence in my mind that nobody really knows what they're doing. We're just figuring out as we go. And somehow collectively we have over 90 chapters, and we've collectively given away over $4 million in grants. Yeah, it's pretty good. Personally, I like to support projects that are inclusive of people with disabilities, and that's important to me because I identify as what's called a sib or a sibling. This is my brother Ryan. He's my older brother, and he is a man with Down syndrome, but he's also an artist and a Motown music buff, and he's a bachelor living his best life on a bachelor pad up in Michigan. Yeah, he's doing pretty well. But Ryan also really loves Christmas and the wonderment of Christmas. Now, Christmas was a big deal when I was growing up. I was fortunate enough to wake up Christmas morning and have gifts from Santa, and we would celebrate the whole holiday of the month through. On the first Saturday of December, my dad would actually wake us up really early in the morning, and we'd have to go walking through the woods to cut down our own Christmas tree. If you've ever seen National Lampoons, that's not just a movie, that happens in real life. And we had a vaulted ceiling in our living room, so we would go looking for a 15-foot Christmas tree. But sometimes my dad would get his measurements off, and we would end up with a massive 17 or 18-foot Christmas tree. Of course, by the time he realized his mistake, the tree was already in its base, and it's such a shame to have to do all that work again, so he would just snip a little bit off the top, leaving us with a massive 15-foot Christmas bush for the year. The best part is Christmas morning. And it's not necessarily because of the gifts, although I know that was a big draw for my brother. His room was across the hall from mine, and about 5 o'clock in the morning, I would hear him creak open that door and tiptoe downstairs and just very quietly turn on all of the lights on the tree and just stare at what Santa had brought him and just stare at the glittering, pure magic before him. And it was quiet, it was a moment for him, and it's something that I know he really, really valued because it meant the start of a wonderful day as a family together. This was really great, but as the years go by and we get older and we start to kind of learn the truth that there's no Santa, hopefully I didn't break that news to anybody. We were in high school. I hear nervous laughter, so maybe that's somebody realizing for the first time. We thought, okay, well, I'm in high school now. My brother's in his early 20s, and my sisters and my mother and I decided it's probably time to kind of break the news. Nobody's really had the talk. He's been kind of into it, yeah. But he's a man now, and we just want to make sure that he's aware of these things because I think he deserves to know the truth. My dad, of course, wanted nothing to do with it, and so that left my mother to destroy his childhood innocence. Well, I'm in the dining room, and I'm working on some homework, and my mother corners my brother in the kitchen. And to her credit, she was very thoughtful about how she presented this. She sat him down and kind of to the effect of, you know, Ryan, when Christmas morning comes and you get gifts, well, Santa doesn't bring those gifts. Your father and I, we go and we purchase them and we wrap them and we place them under the tree before you wake up. My brother listened really closely, and he didn't interrupt. He was okay, kind of soaking it all in, but it was kind of hard to tell what he was thinking. And my mother finished, and she said, Ryan, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Took a deep breath, and he said, oh yeah, I understand. You're trying to say you don't believe in Santa. So that Christmas, he put his gifts underneath the tree, and he still insisted, wow, that some of them must have come from Santa. The second Christmas, he actually wrapped his own gifts, so he could see everything that he got weeks ahead of time. Still, that was ineffective. So we sort of gave up and kind of agreed to disagree. But when my mother had that conversation with him all those years ago, we actually had no idea the weight that that would have on our family, and the weight of his choice to continue to believe in Santa and to hold on to the wonderment of this holiday. Now it's 20-some years later, and my parents are actually divorced, so Christmas is very different for us. My siblings are sort of scattered. We're scattered around the country. Obviously, I don't live in Michigan anymore. But Ryan now plays a very important role in our family. He's the one who brings us all back together, and he centers us. And a big part of that is at Christmas time. And because I know that the day after Thanksgiving, he's going to call me, because he's now written his list for Santa, and he's going to tell me what I can get him for Christmas. He's very good about that. And he's going to ask me when I'm coming home. Not if, but it's when. It's an expectation that I'll be there. And these are my siblings and I, and we still come together every year for Christmas. And I know that it's because of Ryan's belief and holding on to this feeling that makes this happen for us. I think that wonder is kind of infectious like that. Somebody has an idea or a belief, and then others kind of tack onto it. Well, what is that? You want to hold on to that feeling and you want to experience that. And they want to jump on board. There about 4 years ago, there were 3 incredibly talented artists in DC. This is Caitlin Teal Price, Lynn Myers, and Tim Dowd. And they had this idea. They saw a need in the district. And they thought, wow, artists are being priced out of areas. It's hard to find studio space. We need to fix something about this. And so they got together and they did, which is really remarkable because there's so many times, especially in DC, I think, that if somebody has a problem, there's a lot of talking about it, but it's fun to find the places where people are actually doing something about it. But they didn't just want to create studios. They wanted to create something more. They wanted to connect artists in meaningful ways. They wanted to provide free arts programming to the community. They wanted to have collaborations that on the local, the national, and the international level. And because they had this wondrous idea and they started making movements, people sort of started coming on board. So now we have partners like Halcyon, Washington Project for the Arts, Phillips Collection, countless generous donors, and most importantly, artists who have given feedback, who have believed or gave an encouragement, or have you thought about this, or this is what I need. All of that input from the artists has been so key to this project. The result is that Stable is now a real place. It is now a real place, yeah. We opened our doors to 32 artists on June 1st. Some of them are here with us today. And I joined as the first director the week before everybody came on board. So this is really happening. And Stable is now, it's more than studio space. It's more than studios, it's multidimensional. Stable is a destination, as you can see. You can actually come and visit it. It's a place where studios, where artists are working. We have an 1,100 square foot gallery where you can come and see exhibitions. You'll be able to come to workshops. There's post-studio shared working space for 12 artists. And there is a shared common area, we call it the gray room, but it's a space where artists can have conferences, can package up their artwork, can photograph it, any kind of little extra elbow room, things that they need. Stable is also a community. Everything we do is in collaboration. Artists are working with Stable have an opportunity to expand their networks, to connect with unique cultural assets, creative communities, and other institutions based in DC. And Stable is a partner. Like I mentioned, we are building these relationships so that we can partner on the local, the national, and the international level, so that we can provide more programming, more opportunities, connecting with the community in mutually beneficial and interesting ways. And finally, Stable is a standard. Like I said before, all of these things about community and collaboration, we want to hold that high standard. That's really important to us, and that's a key component to everything that's going on. So that means engaging in inclusive community, engaging in dialogue, keep building on those partnerships, and making it a stable place where, and having that stability where people know that I can work there and that I know that I can afford the rent for my studio and be a part of this group. You may have heard the trouble that artists move into an area that's affordable for them. That area now becomes cool, and other people want to move into it, and now that area becomes expensive. And so now the artist can no longer afford to live there, and it's having a domino effect in a not so positive way. The co-founders are really well aware of this phenomenon. And the way these issues are addressed are woven and backed into the fabric of the creation of this entire organization. For example, the founders have been able to secure a long-term below market rate for the space, but we pass that on to the artists. And that's just one way. We've been able to secure a rate, and we pass it on them, and then we do fundraising as an organization so that the artists don't have to worry about that. But I want to share some quotes, too, because we've had a few artists that have shared some information with us, and I think they say it much better about the need that we could. This is Gail Shaw Clemens, and she says, after teaching and being an artist for some 40 years, raising a family, being a wife, a daughter, a big sister, an aunt, a cousin, and a mentor, and more, it's now my turn. I truly thank Stable for giving me a chance to have my turn to totally fulfill my dreams and aspirations as an artist. Emily Francisco, when my live and work studio was destroyed in the aftermath of a structural fire, it became clear that my base operations should be separate from my living space. My living situation changed dramatically overnight, but my studio materials spent 2 years in storage due to the high cost of space in DC. Being granted the opportunity to reestablish my studio with such a rich community of artists is my lifeline as I am working to rebuild my practice. And this is Matt Storm. I want to be an active part of an arts community connected where I live, and I want to engage more transgender DC residents in the DC art scene through my work, which is an extended, open-ended goal. This is why Stable is very exciting to me. I want an accessible home base for my work, a community of artists, and to use that to involve DC trans community with art here, starting through my own practice. I think these are 3 different takes and 3 different reasons for wanting to be involved with Stable and be a Stable artist, but I think that they speak to the idea how one idea can grow and other people can jump on board and see value in it and interpret it in ways that are much more meaningful to them. All right. So now here I am, about a year later, and I've left my secure government job with my secure government benefits to join Stable's team and be a part of something risky and wondrous. And from serving an unattended purpose in your family to finding the weird and fun in your community to sparking an idea that turns into a whole brand new blossoming organization, pursuing wonder comes with risk. And I think that wonder and risk have to be tied if you're going to advance into something incredible. Wonder brought me to my new job. Wonder keeps me guessing where this job will take me. In fact, now it's the most speculative time for a new organization, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be along for the ride. I kind of feel like I won the lottery. But how do you sustain an appetite for exciting places? And how do you ignite a sense of wonder in others? As the DC area gets bigger, it will come with challenges, but I also think there is so much potential there, especially given the wonderful pool of people who are here in DC who have those great ideas. People need spaces like Stable, and we need fun and creative and bizarre ideas and projects. And we need to hold on to these quote-unquote silly beliefs because sometimes that's exactly what is needed to bring people back together. And I'm very proud to be in DC, and I think that DC creatives can keep stepping up and keep creating something wondrous. Thank you.